What we have, and again these are times universal, at 11:48, which is 9:18, the Cougar helicopter Sikorsky departed St. John's. At 12:05, they advised Gander Area Control Center that they had leveled off at 9,000 feet, and their estimated time at the Hibernia platform was 13:10. 10 minutes later, at 12:15:05, the flight data recorder shows that there was a rapid loss of main gearbox oil pressure. A mere 14 seconds later, Cougar 91 began a right turn heading back towards St. John's. At 12:15:27, Cougar 91 issued a mayday call to Gander Center and began a descent from 9,000 feet. At this time, they are 53 nautical miles from St. John's. At 12:15:32, Cougar 91 advised Gander ACC that they had a main gearbox oil pressure problem, and they requested immediate clearance back to St. John's. The flight data recorder shows that at 12:17, the main gearbox oil pressure reached 0. At 12:17, Cougar 91 advised Gander ACC they had lost all main gearbox oil pressure. They were descending through an altitude of 5,740 feet at the time. At 12:22, Cougar 91 leveled off at 800 feet. They were heading 292 degrees, and their speed at that time was 133 knots, so they were heading back for the closest land they could reach. At 12:24, there was a power interruption of some type or some other anomaly which caused the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder to shut off. We're still looking into why that occurred. 12:25, Cougar 91 advised Gander ACC that they were preparing to ditch. And at 12:25:52, just a few seconds later, St. John's radar data records Cougar 91 at 800 feet, but subsequently the aircraft begins to descend down to 300 feet in 29 seconds, and that gives an approximate rate of descent about 1,000 feet per minute. You have to remember that this data is not coming from the FDR. This data is coming from the radar source, so there is some tolerance, there is some error in that data. It might be as much as plus or minus 100 feet, but we'll work with that and go on. At 12:26, Gander ACC advised search and rescue that Cougar 91 had ditched, and Cougar Dispatch confirmed the ditching and advised that they were launching Cougar 61 as a rescue helicopter. At 12:42, the Provincial Airlines patrol aircraft arrived at the current site and spotted 2 people in orange immersion suits in the water. At 13:07, the Cougar rescue helicopter departed St. John's. At 13:25, the Cougar helicopter arrived at the occurrence site, spotted the 2 people in the water, and they lowered a rescue person to the water, and we know that they were able to recover the 1 survivor and 1 body at that time. The next steps, well, again, as I mentioned, currently we are looking at the main gearbox. It's being examined and more work is being done. There'll be a lot of testing that goes into those components after this. We're continuing with data collection from other sources. I talked about some of the cards, the memory cards that are in the various avionics units, and those are being sent to various specialized facilities, manufacturers' facilities for further work. try to fill in the picture a little bit more about what happened. We're going to continue with an analysis of the events, trying to see how everything interacted and linked up together, eventually producing a draft report. Now, one of the things that I'd like to do now is, again, part of our analysis that we've been able to complete in the last few days, actually, as we looked at the wreckage, we were able to piece together a bit better idea about what happened at impact. So we not only have the flight data recorder and some radar data, but we can work backwards from a physical examination of the wreckage itself. Earlier last week, I reported that I thought it was possible the aircraft impacted the water in a pretty steep nose-down attitude. Now you know why investigators don't like to talk about things until they have them verified, because in actual fact, we had quite a different picture, and again, as more information becomes available, we are always able to modify our picture of the events. And Mr. Chalk is now going to explain to you what we see about the actual impact geometry and event.
Good afternoon, everyone. I guess to start out, as Mike said, the initial indications were it's very, very difficult to determine an impact trajectory and an angle and stuff like that when you're dealing with ROV images from 550 feet below the surface of the ocean. But once we recovered the wreckage, we had it here in the hangar, and we removed the components that we needed to remove. Then the work begins from a basic aircraft accident investigation standpoint, and that is we start to piece things back together so they can reveal to us, once they're in relationship to one another, a little bit more information about impact angle. And in this case, without going into too much detail, the aircraft would have impacted the water somewhat tail low. We don't have a roll figure worked out yet, but certainly it was basically, for lack of a better term, belly first, in an upright position, but with a tail low attitude, and that's what the damage is telling us.